welcome to the podcast that buffs your Hearthstone game. This is Velen's Chosen.
Not all who wander are lost.
Greetings, visionaries, and welcome to Velen's Chosen. Whether you're a competitive player, an arena specialist, a deck building visionary, or just like having a bit of fun, we can help you buff your game and achieve your Hearthstone goals. We are on episode 184, and I am Grant Gould, and joining me from across the large North American continent is your favorite Canadian, Eve Martin. How are you doing tonight, Eve?
Really good. I think it's interesting to find out that, you know, when people say, oh, you live in Canada, do you know, and then insert their name here? I'm going to find out if that's actually true, that Canadians do know each other today on the show.
Okay. Well, in case your curiosity is piqued, we have another Canadian joining us, a legendary wild extraordinaire. You know him best as Slizzlin. Welcome to Velen's Chosen.
How you doing, everyone? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, glad to have you, man. What part of Canada are you from? And do you know all the people Eve knows?
So I'm from Western Canada. From my secret investigative team. Apparently, Eve lives 4 hours north of my house.
There you go.
I won't give away the street name, but let's just say there are some very strong wild players that live near my area. Like I live near Ore Dragon, Control the Board, just to drop a few names. So there are some very good BC talents in wild that are out there.
What are the odds that we all live, like, you know, similarly to each other?
Also, APX Void and Zeddy lives 20 minutes from my house. Like we're all pretty close.
But you never met before Hearthstone.
No, never met.
You know, I've never met a person. No, that's not true. One time I met a person in sort of like in a public venue that like played Hearthstone, because I play Hearthstone in public, like when I'm sitting at the doctor's office or getting my oil changed or something like that. And only one time I've had a person go, "Hey, is that Hearthstone?" Or acknowledge what it is. Everything else is like, it's like this secret guild of people that just kind of is everywhere. There's like pockets, you know, like
First
moles
rule
and
of Hearthstone
spies.
is you don't talk about Hearthstone.
So, Eve, are you going to ask Slizzle like if you know the same people, or was that it?
I was going to say, do you know Teresa?
I don't know Teresa.
Oh, no.
Who is Teresa?
Okay. It's not.
This is awkward.
It's okay. It's all right. I just needed to break this idea that all people in Canada know each other. So no, he doesn't know Teresa. We don't know each other. But it is kind of funny that we live in the same province.
For sure.
That's awesome. Well, it's cool because I got some cats in our community that live around the Houston area where I live, and we talk all the time about starting a fireside gathering and meeting up and stuff like that. It's been pretty difficult because we all have families and lives, and it's like fireside gathering equals packing up children and moving them from point A to point B and trying to justify that while playing a card game that involves a tremendous amount of concentration. So one of these days, I think it's going to happen, but it's kind of fun how you do discover your pockets, your communities in your actual in real life communities within your not real life communities. So
that's such a weird way to say it, though, right? Because real life is like, it's still real life. It's not pretend life. It's not
right.
You know, but I completely understand. Like my family and my friends and my coworkers at work. None of them have anything to do with this part of my life.
Oh, I'm the same. I'm totally the same.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing. This is something that I kind of realized as a teacher, but as an adult coming into the gaming world, I can very clearly make a delineation. Like this is my gaming life. This is my Hearthstone personality. Da 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 da. And this is everything else. You know, the stuff that most of the people I know see. But
do you think it's the same
folks,
with other hobbies? Like it's not just gaming, it's like anything you've got, like if you play golf, it's like that's your golf life and then
I
everything else?
I don't know because like people that I know that are into golf or like I'll use the example of my father. My father is really interested in competitive sharpshooting and things like that. That's his life. The people he hangs out with are the people that do that. You know what I mean? He adjudicates matches and stuff like that, and it's what he does. He goes to places where people can talk shop about that. So that is his life. That's what he's known as. It's not this thing he does in a room where nobody sees him doing it. You know what I
But
mean?
is he retired?
No, he'll never be able to retire. So
Oh, that's kind of
it's
sad.
yeah. My father's a minister,
Oh,
so
I see. It's a
he'll never be able to
lifetime
retire.
thing, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
I get that.
he'll die working likely, and it's just the life he's had. So he was a good dad though, and he always took care of us. So, but I can't complain. But anyways, no more reminiscing about that. But I think in terms of gaming, that because you develop a nickname for yourself online, you have a username. You can kind of be whatever you want. And because it is games anymore, there's so many of them, right? That you have a hard time finding commonality with people. Like even the kids I teach every day, they don't all play the same games. They might have played the same game, but they don't play the same games, if that makes any sense, you know? Some kids
Yeah.
will say, "Hey, do you play Overwatch?" Like, "Oh no, I don't play Overwatch. I play Paladins."
So then
And then
suddenly
they
you
have
don't have anything to talk about.
they have nothing
Like
to
they're a
talk about.
gamer and you're a gamer, but if it's a different game, then it's like there's no
Or
across
I
the
play
pond.
Fortnite. I don't play the other one. So unless you can talk Fortnite, they can't talk to you. And if
Right,
you,
'cause it's a
and, you know,
language.
or Minecraft, you know, it's like, oh, I can talk Minecraft. So what I get a lot is, do you play this game? Do you play that game? And it's
You
like,
go through a
if
list. You're like, okay,
you go through a
this one,
list
this one.
because they're trying to find one that you have commonality. And if you have no commonality, the conversation ends and they walk away. And I think that's probably more people than just kids. But I digress. But enough about that.
I think it's a fascinating conversation because partially I think you're right about when we're online and we use gamer tags, that's difficult to kind of make normal conversation about
Right.
with, you know, your family, your friends, your coworkers. Be like, this guy I know, you know, Dragon Hunter 32. It doesn't go easily into conversation. And then maybe a stigma a bit still around gaming and gamers, where a lot of people still think it's childlike and it's immature and it's not something that you just talk about normally. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's
What do you think,
sort of
Slizzle?
I know, because for me, I'm a teacher as well, but I teach adults because I'm a university teacher. So my fear is that like if they get to know me too much, they're gonna like find my Twitch channel, and I'm pretty silly on the internet. Like I'm a pretty serious man in the classroom, but I'm a very silly streamer. So I feel like if they discover who I am online, I lose my credibility in the classroom. So I keep a bit of a distance, but my kids have been really like my kids definitely like they like what who is Slizzle466 who is he? It's like that's me. It's like but you're daddy. Like how are you Slizzle466? And then like they find it very interesting how like I have this like group of people I talk to through my computer, and they're like, who are those people? And they're like, well, they're people who are my friends. Like, so they find it really interesting because my kids are 4 and 7, so they find it fascinating what I do, but they don't quite get it. And then from a workplace scenario, I keep it like super low key because they know what's going on. Like they understand the concept of streamers and stuff. And from my profession that I have, like I don't think there are many like university professors who are streamers, to my knowledge. So I keep it pretty low key.
I completely get that. Yeah.
It's interesting. I always try to, I mean, I tell my students that they thought for the longest time, because they knew I did a podcast, and they thought that I was like a completely different person, like almost like I drink on stream and cuss and swear and this and that, because they think that that's what teachers are like outside of work, that we just put on this act, you know. And I mean, I teach, for just FYI, I teach 13 and 14-year-olds all day long. some people might think it's more of a like a heroic cause than an educational one. But they think that I'm just a completely different person. It's like, actually, guys, I am 100% the same on my show as I am in real life. In case real listeners out there, you're wondering, this is not just my show personality. This is actually the person I am all the time. There's no difference except for that I have a screen name, but I almost go by my birth name anymore. So
I think it's almost a bit easier for podcasters, I think, because if you're a streamer, then it's almost like there's an element of acting involved, performance. What do you think, Slizzlin?
Yeah, no, like, okay, so like I have my streaming personality, and it's definitely different from my real life. But like, yes, like I drink beer on stream, but for my personal stream, like I don't cuss on stream. I keep it pretty positive, but I'm very, very silly, and that's the big difference between me and my real life, is that I'm very silly but very respectful. Whereas in the classroom, I'm just very serious and very respectful. I think that's the big difference. It's the silly factor.
It sounds like it's a place where you can kind of relax, because you seem to be maybe a little bit under stress at work, to always be very, like, to have this persona so people will respect you and listen to you. And then when you go on stream, you can kind of let loose and let that silly out.
Exactly. That's one of my, like, streaming is like my zen. It's like it helps me relax, it helps me chill, and it's very fulfilling. Just like I love my community so much, and they're amazing. And the fact that I love it.
Well, and to be fair, some professions sort of kind of require that you are more on the serious side, right? Like, nobody wants to be approached back like a cop that's cutting up all the time, right? Or like if you're investigating, like if you're doing any kind of like legal stuff, it shouldn't be laughing matters most of the time, depending on what your vocation is. There are some things that have to be taken seriously, and there are some subject matters that have to be taught with an air of seriousness to it. I teach music for a living, and I teach younger people, so kind of by virtue of what I teach, I can get away with it. I guess you could say a little bit more, being a little bit goofier and more that way. But I know that if I was to get up in front of a room of adults, I know that my persona would change a little bit just by necessity. Because
I mean, I teach math and statistics to adults, so it's a pretty dry topic, but I do my best.
Cool, that's cool. Well, now that we know a little bit about your real life, let's talk about. I'm curious to know, how did you get into gaming and Hearthstone and all this sort of stuff?
Sure. So basically, I didn't really play a lot of games until I grew up in Australia, and then when I was around 7 years old, my dad, who was in the military, he got a job posting in North Carolina in the U.S. And so we all moved up to the U.S. for his military posting, and then the really cool thing is that he got this amazing computer. It was this 386. And it was like, whoa! It's like the coolest thing ever. And he got a bunch of games from his work for us, and we had the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We had Commander Keen. We had Cosmos Cosmic Adventure, for those who knows those games, and it was amazing. And then all of a sudden one day, my parents come home, and I'm 8 years old. And they come home with this thing, this gray box that says like NES. I'm like, what is this? And they're like, it's this thing. You plug it into the TV, and you can like play games on it. I'm like, okay, that seems kind of weird. I thought the TV was for watching things, but that's cool. And then we had one game, and only ever one game, and it was Super Mario Brothers / Duck Hunt.
Yep.
And that game blew my mind, like as an 8-year-old. And keep in mind, when I was 8, this was in 1992. So at this point, like, Super Nintendo was already out. I had no idea. I was 8. So I thought this was like the most amazing thing in the world. And then like a couple years later, I go to my friend's house, and they have like Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo. I was like, what on earth is this what is this magic? this is incredible. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like since then, I've always had this nostalgia and this love for Nintendo, and
Yep.
and eventually we moved back to Australia, and I did my elementary school and a little bit of high school, but I grew up on Super Nintendo, a little bit of N64, and so like I've always been a very big, like very pro Nintendo player, like lots of platform games. I love my racing games. I kind of went over to PlayStation for a couple years when Nintendo 64 kind of died off a little bit, and I got into like the Final Fantasy scene, like
Yeah.
got introduced to RPGs, got really into it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like I've always been very Nintendo. But then I think around the GameCube era, like I don't know, like the Nintendo scene kind of dropped off, and I was really focused on my studies. So I kind of really got into YouTube, just like watching YouTube videos. Like I really enjoyed watching people play games on YouTube. And one specific person I really enjoyed watching was Day 9.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
He's so good.
He's so good. So, and the reason I found out about Day 9 is like I used to watch. I got into, I forget the name of the show with Felicia Day on Geek and Sundry. It was her World of Warcraft show.
Right.
Whatever it was called, I forget the name. But like, I never played World of Warcraft, but I really liked the show. So I used to like watch all of Geek and Sundry's content, and then I dabbled a bit in Magic when I was in high school, but nothing serious. But
The
then
Guild.
the Guild, there it is, the Guild. Yes, the Guild. But like, I was never into World of Warcraft, but I loved the show. And then I really got into the Geek and Sundry channel, and then they had Day 9 on, and he had this show called Spell Slingers. And again, I was really casual with Magic in high school, just for like a couple of years. But I watched his show, and he seemed like such a cool guy. And I started watching his YouTube channel, just watching his playthroughs. Like he used to do these Friday day off streams where he'd just like play a random game, and I just loved his commentary. So I would religiously watch his videos every Friday. And then at one point, he started making these Hearthstone videos, and I was like, well, what is this? Like, I would watch a couple episodes, like, this game seems kind of weird. It's like, it's very colorful, kind of weird, like weird noises and stuff. But like, I watched like a couple weeks of the series that he's made. And then I realized that, maybe I'll try out this game. Maybe it'll be kind of good. And then I tried the game out, and it was actually pretty good. And I remember, like, I literally played the game for like a good week. And I was seriously hooked. And it's probably one of the best games I've ever played. So that's like how I got into playing Hearthstone.
Day 9, thank you.
I know. Thanks to Day 9.
He's just so
How long-
relaxed and natural. Like, he can talk
Yeah.
about anything and just like stream of consciousness, keep, talking as he plays. It's amazing to watch the guy work. He's really good.
Yeah, and this was around, this would have been around just before Naxxramas came out.
Mm.
So
You
it was
answered my
quite a
question
while
before I
ago.
answered it.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
answered
Did
my
you
question before I
start?
asked it. So, how long had you been playing Hearthstone before you decided to get, let's say, serious enough to want to push for a legend?
Sure. So I think like the first month, like again, like I played Magic very casually, but nothing serious. So
Mhm.
I played Hearthstone. Like I think the first month I hit rank 16, and I was super happy. And then the second month I hit rank 13, and then I think the third month Naxxramas came out, and I mean at that point I had no idea what I was doing, but Undertaker was a card,
Sure.
and I
I know where this is going.
I remember pushing, like, I made this stupid deck. It was like, it was an Undertaker Tempo Mage. It was an Undertaker Flame Waker Mage, if I remember correctly. And I went to rank 3, and I had no idea what I was doing. But I was like, oh, cool. Rank 3 has a Molten Giant. That's cool. Didn't know what I was doing. But then it wasn't until the grand tournament where I finally, like, sat down, and I was like, okay, let's get legend. And it was the worst experience of my life. It's like, because again, I was terrible at the game. I didn't know the concepts of tempo.
No, listen, if you hit rank 3, you were not terrible.
Oh, I don't know. But like I had no idea what I was doing. And I remember, like, I hit legend. It was Secret Paladin during Grand Tournament, and I looked back at my stats.
I was
And
gonna
for
guess Secret
for
Paladin.
yeah, I was gonna say, for those of you who have trouble hitting legend, I played like 400 games to legend with a 52% win rate, and and it was the worst experience of my life.
Oof.
And I
Well,
actually,
they didn't have rank floors back in those days.
they did not. They did not. And I actually hit legend. Like the first time I ever hit legend, my daughter was 9 months old, and I'm literally sitting in her room, like rubbing her back to go to sleep. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm at rank 1, 5 stars. I have to not shout in this room because otherwise she's going to be awake for like another 2 hours. And then and like I hit legend like on my tablet in my room, and it's like I can't scream or congratulate this. I don't know what to do. But I was so happy. But man, it was brutal.
Were you part of a community at that time? Were there people that you
No,
could talk to about Hearthstone or?
no, it was literally me and like 2 of my friends. Like this was like I didn't get into the serious Hearthstone scene until probably around like probably Karazhan.
Okay,
Like
yeah.
Karazhan, I got serious, but yeah, I was pretty much on my own. And I remember posting. I remember I was so excited, and oh, Hearthpwn. Hearthpwn thinks people are cool. I like posted this guide on Hearthpwn. It's like first time Legend Secret Paladin. I got like 30 downvotes. It was crazy. Everyone was so mad at me. They're like, "Look at you, you're playing your cancer deck. How could you?" And I was like, "Well, I'm so happy. I don't care."
That's wonderful in such a horrible way.
Yeah, that's how the internet works. Crush anybody's happiness.
What was my friend said the other day? He's like, just understand the internet never loses. so this is something even I sort of share in common. But you're playing Hearthstone at a legend level on a regular basis now. You're producing a lot of content for YouTube, and you're sort of known as an aficionado in the wild universe. How do you balance that level of play with obvious career and then family?
Yeah, so so as you know, I've got a wife and I've got 2 kids and a full-time job. Fortunately, my job is quite flexible. So thanks to the internet, a lot of my teaching is done online. So I'm very busy. I'm very busy, even though I like teach 12 hours a week. Teaching online is very demanding. Like there's a lot of things you got to reply to and emails and all sorts of stuff.
Sure.
But it's definitely difficult. One thing that I've been working on is my own physical health. So, I mean, you can do a full-time job, you can do streaming, and you can do YouTube, but if you're not looking after yourself physically, it can be very difficult. So I found in the last like I'd say 6 months, I kind of let myself go, and just in the last month, I've really like focused more on my health, and so like I've cut a little bit back on the streams, cut a little bit back on the YouTube. Exercise is like super important, I've discovered. So again, I'm not the sort of guy that like lifts weights and goes for like sprints, but just like going for walks, just like walking for like an hour a day is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It just really, really helps. So it's definitely a challenge.
Agreed.
But if it wasn't for my wife and just like a flexible workplace I work in, it'd be very difficult to do what I do.
Yeah, I could see that. I've wanted to do a stream forever, and then I think to myself, man, I would love to do like a regular couple hour stream, but by the time kids are in bed, because my job sometimes holds me up. Like tonight, for example, normally we start recording at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, but like I didn't get done with work until 9 p.m. So then I had to factor in the drive home. Fortunately, I have some good friends on the Pacific time zone that, later for them is not a problem.
It's only
Thanks for being flexible, guys.
9:23 now. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, and a lot of times my job is, will hold me up till midnight or later, just depending. And
Yeah.
it's like, there's no way I can have the energy to try and do work, family, play for on my own enjoyment, and then running a stream for everybody else's. So it's just one of those things. Like I do love my wife, and I do want to stay married. So, so,
Yeah.
and I agree with you. It's interesting you bring up like the physical aspects of doing the game, because I was thinking about what you said about walking an hour a day, and the first time I hit legend, I was walking an hour a day every day because I needed
Mm,
the doctor told me I needed to lose some weight.
mm.
So I started doing that, and I noticed that just generally speaking, I just felt better all the time. I felt just generally I didn't get fatigued as easily. I could go longer. Joints felt better, all that good stuff. And I think when you holistically feel better, you tend to play the game better. It's just my opinion, but what do you think about?
I think that something else that really helps me is I'm one of the co-creators of Team One Trick. So
Hmm.
like Team One Trick, we're one of the first competitive wild teams,
Hmm.
and like I think there's about 8 of us on the team. But one thing that's really helped, not just me, but just like as the team create content, is just like the little things. Like one of my teammates, EK Designer, he does all my YouTube thumbnails.
Hmm.
When it comes to editing, like sometimes he'll edit my videos. In some cases, there might be some content that needs to be tweeted out, and one of the members will deal with that. So just lots of little things, just like really help here and there, just to reduce the stress load.
Mm. Yeah, when you're a content creator, if you have to do all of those things, visual, audio, and all of that stuff, just and then coming up with the ideas of what you're going to present, it can be a very, very overwhelming task,
Oh,
especially if
for
you have to do
sure.
it with regularity. So it's cool that you have people with you. So talk about you mentioned Team One Trick. Talk about
Yeah.
the competitive aspects of your life, because obviously you stream. You stream. You're putting out. I like your wild reports, meta reports, where you put out like these are the best decks, and here's why they're good and stuff like that. But like talk about Team One Trick. How long you guys been around? Like how often you compete, stuff like that.
Yeah, so Team One Trick, we're a competitive, we are the exclusive competitive wild team. We've been around for a little over a year now, and one of our big missions is to make the wild scene competitive. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we've seen Blizzard attempt to make the scene competitive. They do like a 1 a year thing, as we've seen, but we really want to step it up a level, and so we've been offering, usually twice a year we'll do these big tournaments where we'll have, like, for example, right now we have the Wild Ladder Challenge 3 happening at the moment, and so basically the top 100 players in the current month, which is May, the next month, which is June, we look at how they do, we tally up their points, and then the top players get invited to an invitational tournament. And
Mm.
this tournament is like it's live cast. We have professional casters. We have prize pools, and it just really showcases the talent that Wild Hearthstone has to offer. Um, and they've been really successful in the past, and people love the content. Um, in some cases, we've actually had people say to us, "I actually enjoyed your content more than the official Blizzard content because it was more personal. Like we try to really showcase like the players and respect them and say like these players worked really hard to like build their lineups, help the tournament scene. It's like just really try to make it really positive and try to really promote Wild in a positive manner."
That's really cool. You make me want to try it. I've never really tried my hand at competitive play, just because mostly for time reasons, and also I think I get squeamish thinking, oh no, I'm scared of doing bad, sometimes, and that fear of being bad at something sort of can stifle
Like if
any
you
kind of
go into
forward
competitive
progress.
and you really try, then you'll find out how good you actually
You'll
are.
be surprised. Like one of my favorite things about my YouTube channel is like my Twitch channel is very silly, but my YouTube
Mhm.
channel is quite serious. And
Sure.
so like one of my YouTube channel missions is like you can be okay, but like if you follow along and like take the advice, you can get legend. And there have been multiple people who have been like, I've been watching your videos, and I hit legend because of your content.
Mm-hmm.
And like especially in WoW, like it's such a close knit community, and there aren't that many people playing that. If you really like sit down and seriously learn the meta, you can
Mm-hmm.
do really, really well. Like I've had people sit down and for example, I mean, this is not the most popular deck, but like Odd Paladin, right? Odd Paladin, it is a pretty skillful deck, although you know it is straightforward as well. But
Mm-hmm.
I've had people say like, I watched your videos, I sat down for like 8 hours straight, and I got legend from rank 4. And that's just like playing the same deck for 8 hours straight, like hit
Woo.
legend. And that's happened multiple times. Like, and like that makes me really happy. And that like, I think a lot of the issues with Wild is like people think that a lot of the decks don't require skill, and a lot of the decks that seem not skillful are actually quite intricate in their details, and people like to disregard that.
Well, since you brought it up, I mean, I was going to ask you this question later, but I'm going to bring it up now. And this is something that actually kind of angered me. I saw this on Twitter the other day, and I don't remember who said it. So this is not necessarily me hanging around their neck as them being foolish or anything bad for saying it, but it's the notion. Somebody said this, and feel free to comment as vehemently as you would like. They said, "Oh, well, you know, Wild is easier to hit Legend in. Hitting Legend in Wild is like hitting rank 5 in Standard. Go."
Okay, so as someone who used to hit legend in both modes, I can tell you that the players. Okay, so typically your average Wild player, they don't necessarily exclusively play Wild, but they will also play Standard. So a lot of
Sure.
the time they'll do their Standard climb, and then they'll be like, okay, I'm Legend in Standard, I'm gonna queue Wild now, and they're very good players. Now, keep in mind, like these players may not know the meta as well, but they really understand how to play the game. So
Mm-hmm.
you may not necessarily understand the Wild meta that well, but you understand the concept of like tempo, efficient trading,
Sure.
when to go like 2-turn lethal. Like I find a lot of players have issues with the concept of 2-turn lethal, where you got to go YOLO and think, okay, well, what's the chance my opponent's going to kill me? Okay, well, it's like a 20% chance, so I'm just going to go all face because I'm going to kill him next turn. A lot of people are very reluctant to take that strategy, but it's actually a very popular strategy for aggressive decks. And for me, like I'm an
Mm-hmm.
aggressive specialist,
Mm-hmm.
so like a lot of people hesitate with these sort of meta games, because I mean a wild is a very aggressive meta compared to
Yes.
Standard.
Yeah. Yeah, you can lose out of nowhere. Like if you don't know what to look for and understand what your opponent can do and like how they want to set up, like you said, 2-turn lethal, you're dead. You're like, what just happened here? I
Yeah, like I was playing like the odd like the odd Paladin mirror is one of the most skillful matchups. And I was playing someone today. Like I'm already legend on NA, and my most of my chat is actually from EU, which I don't understand, but that's okay. But my chat's like, get legend on our server or you suck. So I'm like, fine. So I'm fine. So I'm like, fine. This month I will get legend on your server, and I'm like rank 2 right now. But I was like playing an odd Paladin mirror, and I had a 4-1 on board, and my opponent just decided to leave it up and go face for the extra 1 damage, and then next turn I had like a obliteration of damage because of that 4-1. And just like
Mhm.
these little tiny details that really people don't quite understand, and then they disregard it as like, oh, brain dead, hit the button Paladin, look at that idiot. But there's actually some really intricate details in some of those aggressive matchups.
Well, you know, it's interesting that you say that because I find a lot of I find more pleasure in playing mirrors I must just be a masochist or something because not last month, but the month before I hit Legend again. I don't hit Legend every month, but I did it with Odd Paladin using your list that you had published at the time. And I enjoyed the mirror because I knew how to play that match. It's like I could tell how the game was going to shape up by turn 3 or 4 based on how it was going because they tend to like if X happens, then you're probably going to win unless they have Y. And if they don't have Y, your game's mine. And you start making these equations in your mind really fast. And I liked that sort of play because it was almost like it was Hearthstone chess in a way.
Yeah, one of my favorite things about the Odd Paladin mirror is like when you're on the coin, you're not favored. However, if you can coin muster for battle, you're suddenly favored. And as long as your opponent doesn't muster you back, you're probably okay. But then there's the corridor creepers that kind of mess things up. So like the Odd Paladin mirror is one of the most interesting matchups I find. Like it's like, to me, as boring as some people think it is, to me it's fascinating. Like it's really an interesting matchup to play out.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the Hearthstone community, I'm just going to say it, refuses to find value in the matchups that really are skill intensive that way because I think it's sort of I'm just going to say it's a talking point. Well, there's not enough variety, so therefore this is boring and therefore it's bad. For some people, lack of variety and lack of deck representation equals bad. And I'm not always sure that's the case. I would say that might be the case if it goes on for months and months and months and months. But like lately, the battle, the cry from the community is, well, if you go into Wild, you're just going to see Big Priest and Odd Paladin and Kingsbane Rogue, and there's nothing else. Or if you're in Standard, you're just going to see a Control Warrior and Tempo Rogue and maybe Conjurer's Mage and nothing else. And they want to keep it real black and white that way. But I disagree. It's like, yeah, but so that's the game. I mean, when you play chess, you get black pieces and white pieces and nothing else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's sort of an interesting talking point that they want to just like put out there like it's a bad thing. It's like, yeah, but that's kind of all games.
They complain no matter what happens, though, because when you have those brand new fresh metas where every single class is represented by multiple decks and you have no idea what you're going to face the next game, they complain about that too. You can't make any counters, you can't tech because you have no idea what's out there. So yeah, I think that the rock, paper, scissors can be fun as long as the decks that are available aren't 30-minute games.
Right. I think that's the only thing that makes Hearthstone not fun for me is if the games drag on to I just played a 30-minute game and lost. All right, well, I don't get that time back. I just played another 30-minute game and lost. I was playing an hour and I lost 2 games. That's when it starts feeling bad. But again, I'm still making the choice to play it. It's just sort of kind of the collateral damage of playing the game. Like, then you'll sit down and play another hour session and win 7 in a row. So it's
true. It does go back and forth. But I think we skipped a little bit. I want to ask Slizzle, why Wild?
Why Wild? Excellent question. So, like, as I mentioned, like, I hit Legend with Secret Paladin back in the day. No shame. And then...
No I also did as well.
Yeah, no shame. No shame. But, like, I was enjoying this. So I was, like, playing the game. And then there was, like, the announcement that the game branched off into Standard Wild. And I didn't see the point in Wild, so I kept playing Standard anyway. And then... I got kind of bored, and then funny enough, one of my students in one of my classes, I was grinding. I was being a very bad instructor. I was grinding ladder on my tablet during an exam, as you do, and he hands in his exam, and he's like, "Hey, rank 3, you're pretty good." I'm like, "Thanks," and we exchanged battle tags, and then I look him up later. I see the guy on Reddit, and it's Control the Board. You guys know Control, right? Mm. So
we know.
Yeah, we know Control. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll check out this guy. He seems pretty cool. So he's like rocking Wild, and he modded me. And I was like, okay, I'll give Wild a try, because I was so sick of standards. It was just like secret paladins and mid range shamans, and it was just boring. It was just boring. So I tried some Wild, and then I hit Legend like super fast. But not only did I hit Legend super fast, but I made so many friends along the way. And I think that's the big thing. Like in standard, I knew basically nobody. Like I like people would add me, and I'd say yes, and they'd say like, hey, GG, and I'd never talk to them again. But like in my climb to Legend and Wild, I must have made like 50 friends along the way, and it was crazy. And I was like, wow, this this mode is so much friendlier than standard. Like everyone knows each other, everyone's so nice. And this is around Karazhan, so I mean, shame on me. I hit Legend with like J Druid. Um,
Oh.
but like
How dare you?
I
Do you
know
think it's because
I-
it's like it is because it's a smaller community and everyone's just kind of like we all like this. It's like an underdog kind of feeling, almost like most of the
I-
people are over in standard and we all like Wild and we all support Wild, so you kind of like stick together.
I feel like it is um like I mean like I was like queuing into people like my friends, and like we have a good time, and then I started streaming, and then like almost every time, like when like in Wild, when you're rank 5 and up, pretty much everyone you queue into, you usually know who they are. And it's kind of cool. It's like, oh, I know this person. Like they play
That's
this
really
deck,
neat.
or like trying this deck, and like it's just it was a really cool experience. And I was like, I don't want to go back to standard where like I have no friends and I'm not known. Whereas in Wild, like I have a really strong knit community. Everyone knows everyone, and everyone's just like so nice to each other. And it was just like I'm staying this mode. This is where I'm staying. And so it was not so much the gameplay for me, it was the community. It was the community that made me stay in Wild.
But
you feel like that?
realize that if you guys actually get what you want and make it more competitive and have more people come to Wild, then you're going to lose this tight knit community. It's going to be so many people you're not going to recognize the names on rank 5 anymore.
I know, and that was kind of the feeling when we had the Wild Open, because we like there was the Wild Open in January, and there were like all these people, and even like I think that like this is one thing that really hurt the Wild community, is that a lot of these standard pros were trying to really try hard for Wild, and none of them reached out to us in the Wild community. They just had their own little close knit communities and did their own thing,
Missed
kind of-
opportunity there.
and kind of ignored everything we did, which was I wouldn't say it was hurtful, but it was kind of sad to see how like we are people who dedicate every year to Wild, whereas they dedicate a month and just kind of ignore what we do, which is a bit hurtful.
Yeah.
It's you having it's probably very utilitarian of people to do that, and it is sad. And I know for me, like, man, if there was no Hearthstone community, I would have quit a long time ago. I not maybe quit playing, but I wouldn't be nearly as involved, because I'll be honest, I get more joy out of interacting with people, having guests on shows, building relationships. I personally hold the belief that people are built for relationships. You know, they've done studies on what isolation does to people. That's why it's a punishment in prisons.
Yeah.
And I think that for us to play a video game and willfully isolate ourselves is not a great thing, especially long term. And I think that games like Hearthstone, where it is you're not playing on a team, you're playing for yourself. I think that having that community support and that camaraderie and the being colleagues with people even is just, it adds longevity and life and newness to the game. And I agree with you. I love the Wild community a lot. Just every time I interact with people, like, especially when you queue up against the same person 3 times in a row and you say, oh, you know what, I better friend this person, can GG, like, hey, good job. Oh yeah, I thought you had me. Or, oh yeah, there's no way I was going to win this one. Or, man, I had the favorite match and you pulled that out. Wow, that was just some good playing. And it's just fun to see the general good sportsmanship that tends to come to the top in the wild format that I don't necessarily see in the standard format.
Maybe it's a function of like in standard, you play one game with a person, you're probably never going to see them again.
Likely.
And in wild, you're like, I'm probably going to run into this guy another 12 times tonight. So we might as well be friendly and like get along and get to know each other because we're both going to be here.
This is true. This is true. Yeah. So, I guess here's Eve. What do you think? So, in terms of show, do we want to spend too much time on the news when we get into there? Because I'm enjoying our conversation. I feel like the conversation is evolving organically.
Yeah, I think this is fine. We could probably give it another week for everyone to kind of have their hands on Dalaran Heist before we really talk about it. Because I do know some people kind of don't want spoilers and want to experience it themselves and stuff like that. So I think maybe next week we can deep dive into our experiences with Dalaran Heist and just kind of keep this conversation going.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. So Slizzle, you kind of talked about why you like Wild. So because you like Wild, what would you like to see kind of happen in the format? Because everybody kind of knows that in a lot of ways, at least I feel this a little bit, that a lot of times Wild players are viewed as almost like second-class citizens in the Hearthstone community. And if that's unjust of me to say that or think that way, please say so. But it seems like it's just a little bit sort of on the back burner in terms as far as what the focal point of Hearthstone is. In terms of the attention Blizzard gives it and the attention that a large part of the community gives it and how they view it. Just talk on that. Like, what would you like to see to like help Wild improve based on like the current status quo of it?
For sure. So like, I think one of the big blows to the Wild community was Baku and Gen getting Hall of Famed. It's like,
oh really?
Like I think it was a big hit to us. Because it was like Baku and Gen, like they're powerhouse cards, and they were powerhouse in standard. And then instead of giving them an elegant nerf, again, I didn't know how you would nerf them, but just by saying like, let's just Hall of Fame them a year early, and Wild was gonna have to deal with them anyway, so just like let them deal with them now. It was a little bit hurtful. To me personally, especially considering like the odd even decks are so crazy and wild. Like you've got odd paladin, you've got even shaman, even warlock, odd warrior. Like the decks are so polarizing, and again, I don't have any good suggestions on how to fix those cards, but I really wish that we could get back to the game where we could just like play normal decks, because there's nothing more annoying than queuing up a game. Again, I don't have a choice. Like I play competitively, so I have to play Bakugan decks to win. And so there's nothing more annoying when I queue up my odd paladin and then the Baku does his animation. And then my opponent's Baku does their animation, and I sit there for 60 seconds like an idiot, just waiting for the animations to finish so I can play my game. Like at the bare least, get rid of the animations, because I swear I've lost so many hours of my life sitting there waiting for the Bakugan animations. It drives me insane.
Well, here's a thought. Like, I know that Blizzard's intention is for Wild to be a place of nostalgia, where you can go back and play all of these different decks that you can't play in standard anymore. But, like, I hear you. I feel you of, like, are they going to be there forever? And are they going to affect Wild and all of Wild's decks and Wild's hero powers forever? And how can they have this feeling of all of your old decks that you used to play and used to love? Secret Paladin is there, and all of those old decks while getting rid of Gen and Baku.
I mean, I want to play Mech Mage. I want to play Undertaker Hunter. Where are those decks, right? Like,
right.
Yeah,
can't play them though. They're not good enough.
You can't play them. Like,
well, they nerfed the cards.
Yeah, exactly.
Undertaker doesn't work the same way anymore. What changed about Mech Mage?
Spreading Plague.
Yeah.
Spreading Plague. It's just, yeah, it's just
trust
like
me, I hate that card so much.
yeah. I know. It's just like it's just aggravating. It's like you like. Fortunately, like one thing I've been really okay. So like I had a negative light, but here's the positive light. So the negative light is that like the odd even decks are running rampant, but I've been really happy to see that in the current metagame, non-even odd decks are starting to progress. So for example, Aggro Druid is coming back. Murloc Shaman is a powerhouse of a deck in Wild.
Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely so.
Murloc Shaman is insane. Shudderwok Shaman. When I say Shudderwok, I don't mean like the combo grumble sort of thing. There's like a new Shudderwok Shaman that's like on the edge of breaking the meta. It's like a mid-range deck. It's really, really strong. So like there are some non-odd even decks that are getting out there, but they're definitely struggling just because of the polarization of these odd even decks.
Mm.
So Blizzard needs to kind of get over their idea of Wild is where all the crazy things happen. Wild is where you can go play decks that you used to play, and just also balance it. Get in there and balance cards and balance like crazy combos and crazy things that are making it toxic in the Wild.
For sure. I mean, I don't think there is a single deck that is a big problem in Wild, but there are specific decks that are very polarizing that cause a lot of problems. Like, for example, Kingsbane Rogue is just like it is so obnoxious because of the ability to like buff your weapon with oil and deadly poisons, and it's just obnoxious. And it's not like the deck is busted. It's just really hard to deal with if you want to play a control deck.
Yes.
And it's kind of the same thing with Big Priest. Like, again, this is my opinion. Like Big Priest is a good deck, but it's not so much the Barnes on 4 that breaks the deck. It's the resurrect mechanics. Just like being able to play a Spellstone and just like generate 4 dudes, or just like even like Psychic Scream. Like Psychic Scream is so unfair. Stunner people, you're so happy that card's gone. We're stuck with it. We're stuck with it.
Right.
We're stuck with it. Yeah, like Big Priest, like Big Priest. It's annoying. It's not broken, but it makes people very upset. And I think those are the sort of decks that they need to refine. Like Kingsbane makes people upset. Big Priest makes people upset. Odd Paladin makes people upset. Nothing makes you more upset than having the game and then your opponent playing a Quartermaster and you just win. Like, I think those are the things that make Wild annoying to people, where you can just play one card and just win. And it's not just Big Priest. There are lots of decks that can do that.
Yeah, I agree with you. It seems in Wild that there are decks built around single cards, and those single cards are so powerful that they warp the meta. You can't get around them. Like Kingsbane, like I was trying to play Duin's. He made like a dragon Reno Mage, and I happen to really enjoy playing Reno Mage decks because they're fun, because there's a lot of really nifty cards in there. And I was playing it, and the first thing I queued up again was a Kingsbane Rogue, and he had Kingsbane first couple turns, and he just buffed the crap out of it and just started going ham on my face, and there wasn't anything I can do. I healed with Reno. I Zola'd Reno back in my hand, healed again, and it didn't matter. He could do 90 damage to my face just because his Kingsbane never went away.
Yeah.
And I didn't have enough threats to deal with it.
It's same with Vargoth, like Jade Druid. Like Jade Druid has always been like a deck that's been like pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
It's like big green men. They're pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And Vargoth, like Vargoth just sent that deck over the edge.
Mm-hmm.
Like how crazy is it to go Oaken Summons into Vargoth into an Ironwood Golem or a Hecklebot? Like that's just unfair. Like how do you deal? How do you deal with that? It's so many stats for 4 mana. It's just not fair. And I feel like I don't know if Blizzard actually balanced Wild when they release cards, but like the fact that Vargoth was released for free is a pretty good indication that they probably don't.
Yeah, I kind of feel like for them, Wild that's why it's called Wild. They expect it to be a crazy place that is imbalanced and where all of these amazing, crazy decks live. And that's kind of the point. Because like listening to you talk about all of these different broken combos and like hard things to deal with and frustrating mechanics, there isn't a fix. Like, unless they went in and leveled the whole thing with a nuclear bomb and started from scratch, like, you can't fix that. There's too many moving pieces. There's too many broken mechanics, too many uneven, powerful cards. And I think what they've done is just go, that's the way it is. That's the way Wild is.
But the thing is, like, is that a good thing? And I still don't know, because, like, I still love Wild because it's so broken. and the meta is so polarized. But like you go to Standard, and there's like there are 2 decks, right? You play Lackey Rogue, and you play Bomb Warrior, and what else do you play, right? I don't know.
Yeah. I think that's it, right?
Yeah.
Conjurer's Mage.
Yeah, but I think with Wild, like, yes, Wild has the most polarized matchups in the metagame, but there are lots of polarized matchups. Whereas with Standard, it's polarized, but because of the lower card pool, you've got less to play.
Yeah, I can see that. Dang, I just lost my train of thought. Oh, Chips is 6 says Juicy Psych Melon was proof in the chat. Says was proof that Blizzard doesn't care about Wild.
Well, it had no impact on Standard at all.
None whatsoever. But that was when what was it? Was Naga Sea Witch out at the time, or was it?
That was later. But
that was later.
I mean, so to give you a good example, like Jupiter Joybuzz was a card that people saw and feared. They were like, when people saw Jupiter Joybuzz, they're like, oh my god, it's Melon 2.0. like this card might break Wild, and it didn't break Wild, but it did give some buffs to some really cool decks. Like Jupiter Joybuzz is seeing play in Togwaggle Druid as like a secondary Melon. It's seeing play in Shudderwok Shaman, which is nuts. It's a really interesting card. Like, I'm happy that Joybuzz exists and didn't break Wild, whereas Juicy Sack Melon broke Wild badly.
Yeah, it was.
I think that they look at the small card pool of Standard and go, they're not going to have everything that they need to make this broken. But Wild probably has everything that they need to make any card you create broken.
Yep. It made your Aviana Coon combo like inevitable. It's just going to happen.
I mean, okay, perfect example. Why does Never Surrender exist? Like, Never Surrender has made Odd Paladin so good, and it was already the best deck in the meta. Like, my god, that card is good.
Yeah.
Like,
really helps you
sorry, Defile. See you later, buddy.
Yeah, Defile, and then like Spirit Lash doesn't clear your board ever again.
Yeah.
And that's gives a little bit of health.
But again, that's the cool thing about Wild, because people can adapt. So like, the big priests were like, oh no, I can't clear my boards anymore. I'll just take in Shadowwood Horror. Problem solved.
Sure.
And then the warlocks were like, oh no, I can't clear board anymore. I'm going to take in Corrupting Mist. Problem solved. Because like we have so many cards, as long as you know the cards, you can tech them. That's fine.
Sure.
Well, I mean, that makes it sound good. I know there's a bunch of things that really frustrate people in Wild, but I also think that part of the reason Wild is the way it is also because of the way it is.
I mean,
if it was just as competitive as Standard, if it was just as balanced as Standard, if it was just, if it had that much attention, then you wouldn't have this amazing little tight-knit community and the way you play against people you know and all of these other things that you love about Wild.
I mean, one thing like super interesting that I loved about the Wild Open 2019 is that all the standard pros came into Wild and they brought new archetypes that were good. So, for example, like they brought Mechathune Warlock. Mechathune Warlock was never a thing in Wild until the standard people came along. Anyfin Paladin died off really bad. The standard crew came in, and then they made Anyfin Paladin work like really, really well. So, like,
wasn't it Semph class that did that? Like, he made it really.
I can't remember the name exactly. I think Meaty did the Warlock, the Mechathune. I can't remember the Anyfin guy, but it was just it was interesting to see how like the pro like quotation mark pros come in,
Sure.
and bring new decks, but the decks are like good decks, like tier
It's
1,
like fresh
tier
blood.
2 decks.
Fresh ideas, fresh energy. The people who are
Yeah.
in Wild all the time might kind of get tunnel vision a little bit.
Yeah,
And you get people
exactly.
from the outside getting like new eyes on it, and
Exactly.
Well, I've
Yeah.
heard Danny Donuts say this before, but he said, the thing about standard is you have millions more people like all think tanking decks in standard and trying to improve it and make it better and refining it, and you have
it's
just
not quite true though. It's like
the
10
percentage, but this percentage is marginal difference of percentage is significant
Yeah.
enough to where you just don't have as many minds working on decks.
There's still a tiny percent of people in Hearthstone that are making the decks.
Right,
Like
but what I'm
everyone
saying
else
is like
just like sees it and goes, "Okay, I'm going to play that." But the amount of people that are actually trying to make decks is so small. We need more in standard and in Wild.
yeah, it's something I think is like a fear. Sizzle, do you make decks regularly, or you just refine decks? Like, do you?
I'm the sort of guy that refines decks. So like, I'll see a good deck, I'll take it, and I love how I'll put some bad cards in it, like maybe like a maybe like a weaponized pinata or a face collector. Some of my favorites, like my brand is to take good decks, make them bad, and then hit high legend and make people make people angry. Like
You shouldn't have won that because you had a pinata in that damn deck.
I made Reddit so angry one time because I hit top 10 legend with even Shaman running weaponized pinatas, and they got so angry I almost got banned from Reddit. That's how bad it was.
Why
my
would anybody be that angry? I'd be like, dang, dude, that's like you tied one hand behind your back and still do it. Sweet. that's I'll buy you a drink, you know what I mean?
I
Bravo.
made so many people angry. It's hilarious.
Well, that reminds me of like playing poker nights with the guys, and you'd totally bluff them out, and he'd be like, "If you had those cards, you weren't supposed to bet that way. You're supposed to bet this way if you have these cards. You're not playing by the rules, and you still won." That makes them angry. Because it's like, you're bad, you're not good at this game, and you still won, and they're frustrated because you're not doing it the right way, the way they want you to do it to be legit. That's why Reddit's angry.
Well, some people like to have, I think people like to have their little world or whatever it is be a certain way. And when something kind of interjects itself into it and says, no, everything you know is a lie, or your conception and your brilliant thinking about this may not be exactly 100%, true. I think people just really take offense to that, rather than say, I wonder why, weaponized pinatas work. Is it because maybe that Hearthstone is at the end of the day not a luck-based game? Is it, there is some skill involved, and sometimes you can actually put suboptimal cards in it, and still do well because you're making really good, strong plays, and maybe opponents didn't. It's all kinds of number of reasons.
Or
but I think
the deck is already so broken that you could throw in a couple crappy cards and still win with it.
You got it. You got it.
Yeah.
Would you say that you mean that? Like that's actually the case?
That's
in
why
Wild,
Reddit's angry.
No, it's because back then, even Shaman was so broken that you could put dumb cards in your deck And as long as you knew how to play the game, you could hit high ranks. Like it's also the reason I ran an odd rogue and I put face collector in the deck just to annoy just to annoy people. Like I put face collector in my odd rogue just to make people mad, and then I hit top 15 legend, and people were furious. I'm like, I got the stats. What's he gonna do?
Yeah, it's hard to argue data, that's for sure. And I think that's probably why they're so mad about it, is they want to keep it real subjective, like, well, if you're good, then you do this, and this. It's like, yeah, but I'm intentionally trying to break the mold here, so deal with it. Sunglasses down,
Yeah. Okay. So like there was not me, but there was a guy playing even Shaman, and you might know the card the Darkness. The Darkness will put 3 candles in your opponent's deck. So when arena decks are really popular, there was this one guy, and he would run even Shaman with the Darkness, and he would run the Darkness just to counter the arena deck, so they couldn't play the Kazakus, couldn't play the arena, and it was hilarious. And it's like that's one of the beauties of Wild. It's like, you put stupid decks in your decks because everyone plays the same thing. It's hilarious.
I love running the Darkness. I was doing that a while ago. I'm like, guys, the Darkness is good because it messes, because there is just enough player base where not that the card innately is good. It's that people see it and then they don't know what to do. They're like, whoa, what's the Darkness doing there? Why is somebody playing the Darkness? Nobody plays the Darkness, Everybody. And you're just like, oh yeah, man. Oh, keep those candles coming, baby. I want to see it 2020, by turn 5.
This is why I play Blood Knight in my Secret Paladin. Because
that's gross. How dare you?
But you were having a lot. But you made rank 6 Wild Legend, Eve, for doing that.
Yes, and I was absurdly proud of the fact that I teched in this card that nobody else was playing when everyone was playing Bubble Paladin, and just stole all their bubbles and had a 13/13 Blood Knight.
Well, that's how I hit Legend the first time. I hit it with Gunther Mage. I just was like, you know what? I'm just going to put in 2 Eater of Secrets. Everybody's like, oh, that card's so bad. I'm like, not when you just eat all the secrets all the time, It's like, oh, it'd be a shame if something happened to your ice block, yoink,
Yep.
And people don't know what to do. People would instant concede. I mean, especially in the mirror, like you Eater of Secrets, their ice block once, and a lot of times they're like, okay, I'm out.
What? There was the other one. What was it? Kazan Mystic or something Mystic?
Oh,
yeah, that was back in the day, though.
Yeah, that was that one.
Kazan Mystic.
Yeah.
In the Freeze Mage days.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Love that card.
Considering how much you hate ice block,
Yes. Nobody should be able to not be able to be killed for 4 turns.
Yep. Well, ice block's not nearly as good as it was. I played like I told you, I was playing Reno Mage, and I somehow wound up with 3 ice blocks in a Reno Mage, and Rexar is just so good that he don't care. He don't care. He gets so much value. He's just like, yeah, okay, I'll pop your block and I'll just generate more stuff to silence the stuff you don't want silenced, and to lifesteal stuff you don't want life stolen, and pop your block. And you have Death Knight Jane out. It don't matter. I'm gonna play around that sucker, and it's just like, yeah, I can't beat your value. You'll outvalue me all day long. So and I can never build a big enough board. Sigh.
All right. Did we touch on everything we wanted to touch on, Slizzle? Were the things that you wanted to bring up and talk about that we missed?
No, I think we're good.
Cool. Well, let's transition into the deck of the week. So I asked Slizzle, I said, okay, look, I said, you're a wild aficionado. Tell me about a wild deck that's sweet, that you want to talk about, that's not like run-of-the-mill stuff. So for our wild audience, you guys can get a little bit of a tasty treat. And for our standard audience, maybe you might be enticed to come over to the wild side. So, Slizzle, take it away. What'd you bring us this week?
So I brought a Shudderwok Shaman, and this is not the usual degenerate Shudderwok Shaman that you might be used to before the Senate chain gang nerf. This is like a mid-range Shudderwok Shaman with so you run Shudderwok as a Nazoth. So this is a Corpsetaker build. So you're running Corpsetaker, you're running Doppelgangsters, Antique Healbots, Lower Theb, and the goal here is you play your Shudderwok, and you fill your boards full of 6/6 taunts, life steals, all that jazz, and then it's not infinite. So like this deck doesn't run Grumble. It does run Blog Slosher. It runs Zola to bounce the Shadow back to hand, but a lot of the time, because of Lower Theb and increasing your opponent's spell amount by 5, you can play the Shudderwok, make this horrendous board of 6/6s, and then they can't deal with it. So it's a more aggressive variant than what people are used to for Shudderwok Shaman, but it's really very powerful against aggro because you're running Maelstrom Portals, you're running Haggith the Scheme, you're running Volcanoes. And the big thing is like the one new card that's really helping the deck is the Walking Fountain, because the Walking Fountain, the Walking Fountain,
that's an amazing card.
Yeah, it's like an 8 damage, it's like an 8 heal, clear a couple dudes.
It's heal on a stick, is what it is.
Yeah, it's healing on a stick. And another really nice addition to the deck is Geppetto Joybuzz, because Geppetto, like, it's not guaranteed, but it can help you tutor your Shudderwok for 1 mana, which is a very big deal. But just like, especially because like so again, using new cards, we're running Spirit of the Frog in this deck, as well as Farsight. So because of Spirit of the Frog, the deck is designed to be not just good against aggro, but good against control decks. So you can play Spirit of the Frog, and then Farsight into Hex. And Hex is a Big Priest worst nightmare. So this deck has good game against Big Priest. Again, the Lower Theb is good against Big Priest, and it's just a super fun deck. And Sipiwi, he's a well-known wild player. He hit #1 legend on EU with this specific list. But it's a very interesting take on Shudderwok Shaman, like veering away from the combo and going more like, here's some board, deal with it. If you can't deal with it, I'm going to clear your board and just like spam you full of stuff. It's a very interesting take on Shudderwok Shaman.
I see Evolve, which makes me happy.
For sure.
Doppelgangster, I imagine, goes along with that, or is that in?
Yeah, no. Doppelgangster Evolve is an excellent combo. Because, so one of the things with this deck is like, because it can't go infinite, because there's no Grumble, you want to be making sure you're playing your Doppelgangsters, your Sloshers, your Zola. You might even want to consider playing Zola or Slosher on one of your Doppelgangsters, just to get more battle cry.
I'm actually not familiar with Bog Slosher. What does that one do?
So Bog Slosher is a 3 mana, and it will bounce a minion back to your hand and give it +2/+2.
Okay.
Yeah. So for example, you could bounce a Doppelgangster back to your hand, and then you've got a 4/4 that generates some more minions for you.
Right.
So a bunch of other 4/4s.
Yeah.
So Doppelgangster's doing what Serenite Chain Gang used to do.
Yes, because of the nerf. You can't run Chain Gang anymore.
Right.
Right.
Cool. So like, let's talk about Mulligan. So when I'm playing this deck, what is it that I'm looking to keep, like, in a generic sense, and then maybe talk about a few specific matchups?
Sure. So let's talk about aggro. Okay, so you're in the aggro. You want to be keeping your portals. Against Kingsbane, you keep your oozes. You're gonna want to keep your Hagatha Schemes, your Volcanoes, and your Lower Thebs. Lower Theb is just like a crazy card that can stall your opponent. Against control, you're concerned about drawing cards. So you want to be keeping your Spirit of the Frogs, your Farsights. And again, your Lower Theb is very powerful. Even Hagatha's Scheme is like, even against control, Hagatha's Scheme, just like, especially like an even lock might make a crazy board, or even a Darkest Hour lock, just being able to clear the board out of nowhere is like really powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Like Darkest Hour, like it would be really awesome to have a Hag of the Scheme turn one. It's like, okay, well, you're just going to do whatever your thing is. You just go along and play that. And by the time you can do it, your guys are dead.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's cool. So you like keeping Lotheb in your opening mulligan with this? Or only on coin?
To be honest, except for Paladin, because Paladin's a little too fast, I like Lotheb is like one of the MVPs of this deck. Like if you can play Lotheb as soon as possible, like even a Shudderwok with a Lotheb effect is so powerful, especially against control like that. Like they can't, no one can deal with that. Like a Shudderwok Lotheb is just like game breaking.
Yeah, I remember months ago our good buddy Wicked Good was talking about how silly that felt. But the deck he was playing I think it was missing some pieces. But I remember thinking to myself, "Oh dear God," because I have like a overdramatic form of PTSD from when Shudderwok first came out. So I'm like, "Oh, Shudderwok," and then thinking about Shudderwok with Lotheb and all the other things, it's just I could see how completely busted that must feel. So you say like, so we want to use Lotheb smartly, right? We don't want to just windmill slam that thing on 5, right? We want to make sure we kind of use it like set up a board, then Lotheb as best we can, or
for sure. And like what, like you screw your opponent over once, and then as soon as that's going, like the Shudderwok gets played, and your opponent just has no chance. Like it's very, very difficult.
So you really want to play Lotheb so that when you play the Shudderwok, it has Lotheb's call in it. That's why you want to. It.
Because one of the big plays is because of the Corpsetaker, right? You play the Shudderwok, and then if like you want to get the Shudderwok and the Doppelgangster effect with all of your Corpsetaker buffs, and then your Lotheb so that your opponent cannot deal with your board.
Right.
So it's kind of the Darkest Hour effect, where like Darkest Hour, they'll play their Darkest Hour and then they'll bring out the Nerubian Unravelers, and you can't clear their board. Right. It's kind of a similar thing where you play the Shudderwok, you make a horrendous board, but the Lotheb effect makes so that you cannot clear, like your opponent cannot clear your board. So it's a very similar effect.
So you basically just wall them out. You say, "All right, you don't get to play now. You're done."
Yeah, pretty much.
So
but
if
I play,
just talking mechanics for a second. So if I play Corpsetaker and it gets the Divine Shield and the Wind Fury and all the stuff it gets when it's supposed to have, when Shudderwok is cast and it makes copies, does it make copies that have all those attributes?
As long as the Corpsetaker goes first. So if as long as you play Shudderwok and the Corpsetaker goes first, and then you get the Doppelgangster, then they would all get the effect. So it's very reliant on the order of the battle cries.
Okay, so when Shudderwok, because Shudderwok randomly throws out the battle cries, right? Just making sure I'm understanding this right.
Yes.
So when Shudderwok is cast, if it goes Corpsetaker into Doppelgangster, that's when it turns into this ridiculous Wind Fury, Divine Shield wall, right?
That's correct.
Okay, cool.
Right, because Corpsetaker's battle cry is gain taunt if your deck has a taunt minion, repeat for Divine Shield, Lifesteal, and Wind Fury. So that battle cry enables everything on the board to get taunt, Divine Shield, Lifesteal, and Wind Fury.
Yes.
Now, let's say it's a later in the game and I've already dropped Alakir, and then I play Shudderwok, will it actually
check the deck and then not?
Will it still check the deck? Does it still check the deck?
Yes, but it wouldn't count because you have to play the Corpsetaker. So you have to get the Corpsetaker buffs as early as possible, and that's why you've got the Alakir and the Walking Fountain as a backup.
Does it save whatever Corpsetaker got?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so it doesn't check the deck at that point and say, do you have taunt and Wind Fury and all that stuff in your deck? It just saves whatever the battle cry Corpsetaker got.
Yeah, like whenever you played Corpsetaker, whatever Corpsetaker got, that's what Shudderwok gets.
Got it. Okay.
That's an interesting way that they decided to write the code for it then. It doesn't check the deck at the moment that Shudderwok cries. It just checks whatever Corpsetaker got.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking all these mechanics questions, because these are not things I would have necessarily realized on my own.
Yeah, this is
As I was,
amazing.
um, what's the best way to use Electra Storm Surge in this deck?
Sure. So
I was
Electra,
wondering that as well.
yeah. So personally, Electra and Farsight is amazing, especially if you have the Spirit of the Frog already on board, because you'll draw 2 of your 4-drops. If not, like not necessarily, but like you'll draw 2 cards, and then if the frog is out, you get 4 drops. Otherwise, something else. Otherwise, Electra and your Maelstrom Portal can be quite good against the Murloc Shamans, against the even Shamans Paladins. Even Electra and Electra and Evolve can be insane. Like if you play your Doppelgangster, and if you have the like if it's late game, if you get like Doppelgangster, Electra, Evolve, you've got a whole bunch of 8/8s. That's pretty good.
That's stupid.
Yeah.
That's just
there are some very good 8/8s in the game.
Oh boy, that's crazy. Oh my goodness, I want to try this deck so bad. This sounds so fun.
It's just so interesting.
Eve,
Like
are you salivating? You gonna play this deck now?
That somebody looked at all of these cards and went, like, this goes together and makes a deck.
I mean, if I wasn't Legend already, I'd be playing this deck right now. But I really I played about 6 games in casual, and it is so fun. Like, it is crazy fun.
It speaks to me.
It calls to you.
But then I also heard that you said that aggro druid was in wild, and I kind of want to level up my druid because it's not even level 60 yet, because I have a sweet hate on for druid.
Yes, but your aggro druid plays living mana, and then you play devolve, and you laugh at them.
Yes. Yeah. You laugh at them because they have no mana for the next 7 turns.
I've done it to enough druids that I know how that works. It's just I started playing druid for the first time in standard because I never played it. Like, I had no druid cards. I had dusted them all. And I started playing it just for like a week, and then immediately got, teched against into the ground. And I was like, I just started liking druid. So if it's alive and well in wild, then I can see how that goes. But living mana is not what we play in standard. We play the Whispering Woods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I played Whispering Woods, then the devolve would have no effect.
Well, it depends if they're buffed or not, but generally not. You get a bunch of penguins.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can unbuff my buffs,
dummies.
but I'm still going to have a whole bunch of minions on the board, and that's the point.
And you can still, more importantly, you have mana for the next turn.
Yes, that's true.
Cool. Yeah, this I see Antique Healbot. There's just so many awesome Battlecry minions in this deck that I mean, I might just have to get over my my PTSD from Shudderwok back in the day.
Yeah, it's a completely different thing. It's not infinite, right? So
yeah, this just seems like an awesome deck. I like how you said at the beginning that you treat Shudderwok sort of like a N'Zoth.
Yeah.
And that makes a lot of sense, because for those of our listeners who maybe play standard, if you remember from N'Zoth days, you don't just windmill slam N'Zoth. You want to try to like maximize your value, and then when the time's right, it's like, all right, here we go, boom, deal with this, and if you can't, game over. So that's exciting, and I love Lotheb. I do wish Lotheb was a card still in standard. I wish they could just.
Oh no, he's too good.
As a classic,
he's too good.
He's probably too good. He's probably just too good of a card, but
he's one of the greatest cards of all time,
easily. And it's actually taken me years to figure out how truly good it is. You know how like you can kind of apprehend an idea, but then you start getting into it, and then apprehension turns into comprehension, and you're like, oh wow, I see what the pros were saying years ago. But well, this deck is truly exciting. What are the bad matchups for this deck? Like what am I not looking to see like when I'm playing this one?
don't queue into even shaman. Don't basically don't queue into decks that can make very big minions. So even shaman, even warlock is going to cause you a lot of trouble.
Hex.
Hex is good, but like there are so many targets that even lock and even shaman have. It's quite a good deck against a lot of the flood decks. So like against like Odd Paladin, Murloc Shaman, Aggro Druid, it actually has pretty good game against those decks, but it does struggle against decks that bring out multiple big minions at once.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It also stinks. It also stinks against Kingsbane Rogue. This kind of hurts. It kind of has no. Okay, one thing about this deck, apart from heal bot, it has no heal. So like Kingsbane Rogue, Walking Fountain, yeah, but that's like a turn 8 play.
Yeah.
You're dead by then.
Kingsbane Rogue is going to say, "I'm going to kill you." So like, as long as there's no Kingsbane Rogues in the meta, knock on wood. The deck is decent. Like it's a deck that is popular now simply because flood decks are back in the meta, and this deck punishes flood decks.
Got it.
Maelstrom
So
Portal.
in terms of now for wild players, I feel like this is almost more true for wild than standard. But should you kind of have this as like your rotation of 2 or 3 decks that you're quite good at to like rotate depending on what you tend to see? So like you said, you're seeing flood decks. This is a great one to play. But if flood decks go away and we go to what control decks, this deck's
dead. So this is a very meta dependent deck. Yeah, so I mean, this deck is like the flavor of the week. Next week, who knows?
Sweet.
Maybe Bomb Warriors Tier 1. Who knows?
No, never.
No. Although I've been playing a lot of Hunter this week, so on standard. And I like destroying the crap out of warriors.
Okay.
You gonna deal with my 7/7s? Oh, how about these 7/7s? How about these 7/7s?
One of my friends has struck you hit legend last week with Bomb Warrior in Wild. So
I think I saw a tweet about somebody doing that. I don't remember who.
Yeah.
Sounds horrible.
It's pretty scary. Pretty scary.
That's something I would rage on Reddit about.
I'm so mad I hit legend with Bomb Warrior. Why did I have to do this?
Keep Bomb Warrior out of Wild. Let's make a petition.
Yeah, right. Well, let's see here. I think that about wraps up the show. I feel like we've had some very excellent discussion. We're running at what? We're at about an hour and a half here. Let's tell the listeners where they can find us. We do have a 5-star review, so I'm going to read it before I forget, because it's nice to get 5-star reviews. Courtesy of our good buddy Rob May. He tracked this down for us because international things with iTunes reviews are a little bit funky. So he found this one for us and sent it over my way. It's from Faz7861 from the US of A. He says Grant and his team, I don't have a team, it's Grant and Eve, and his team does a fantastic job helping you become a better player and have more fun doing it. Great job. Highly recommend. Their former host Andrew also has a great podcast, The Happy Hearthstone. Check them out. And yes, you should check out The Happy Hearthstone.
Andrew is like classic Valen's Chosen.
Yeah, he's like the Valens that went out into the world to proselytize in the name of Happy Hearthstone.
That's a very positive podcast if you want to listen to something uplifting and positive. The Happy Hearthstone.
Yeah, he's a good bro of ours. So always check. We like to promote other shows and stuff like that. Slizzle, thank you so much for being on the show. Where can people find you and your content if they want to look you up?
Yeah, so a couple places. So number one place would probably be twitch.tv/Slizzle466. You can also find me on youtube.com/C/Slizzle466. And you can find me on Twitter at twitter.com/Slizzle466.
Excellent. What days do you generally stream?
I stream on Monday, Thursday, Friday days, and Friday, Saturday nights.
In the general time frame? Set days. You have like
Usually the mornings are 9 a.m. PST. The nights are 11 p.m. PST.
cool. So lunch
Yeah.
hour for some of us in
Yeah.
the Middle Eastern part of the United States.
Yeah, usually lunchtime in a dinner time Europe time.
There you go. Sweet.
Yeah.
Eve, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at LoreMasterEve, and my BattleNet tag is LoreMasterEve1974.
Cool beans. If you want to find me, you can find me at WatchmanHS on Twitter. Friend me in game at hashtag Watchman hashtag 1140. Anything and all things Velen's Chosen, you can go head on over to www.velenschosen.com. We have links to our Discord. Get involved. You want to play Hearthstone, you want to get better. Community is the best place to start. You can support us if you wish by leaving us a 5-star iTunes review like we read. Helps us get noticed in the queue when people search Hearthstone, how to play, how to get better. Helps us with visibility. If you want to send us that cup of coffee every month to help us keep the lights on, to help us pay our internet bills and things like that, head on over to patreon.com/Velen's Chosen podcast. Always appreciative of any monetary support. A big giant shout out to our number one sponsor, Jamie S. Thanks again, Jamie. You've been an awesome friend of the show for many years now, and we are continually grateful. Anything else, Eve, that I'm forgetting before we sign off?
Next week we will get into talking about the Dalaran heist.
Mhm.
But for now, I will just leave you with this. It is always good to choose Wondrous Wisdom Ball. You will never regret it. Have fun.
I must.
I agree.
All right. So you can sign us off, Eve.
Uh-oh.
Not
My
all,
mind just went blank. Grant, help me.
not all who wander are lost. Take care of us.
I foresaw this. Did I miss it?
I was going to say, and now you know lore, but that's from Knights of Lore. I was like, that's
And
the
now
wrong
you know the lore
send-off.
stuffs.
That's the wrong one.
And remember to check your strong bad email. So,
Thank you, Grant.
yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.